and we gave, she saw that it wasn't because we wanted to be honored for it. It was because we loved our people, and they were so thankful. These people, Nehemiah's people, were so thankful for what he did because they saw his sacrifice as good leadership. They saw it as the love that he had for them. In ministry, we need to do this as well. As leaders, we need to care about our people, and sometimes that means sacrificing. Sometimes it means giving up even when things are tight, even when things are hard. Ministry can be difficult. And there you will go through hardships, but in those hardships you still need to take care of your people. And we need to remember as leaders that at the end of the day it comes down to the people and that it's about them. See, I think at the end of this, these two verses, the key is where he says that he knew the demands were heavy on the people. So he understood what they were going through. He loved them enough to understand and sympathize and provide for them. He gives of himself. He sacrifices because that is what a good leader does. That is what a good leader does. We are leaders and we are going to be ministers because we want to take care of people. And that's what Nehemiah does as a leader. Like, unlike any leader that came before him, he sacrifices because he loves his people and he understands that sometimes it means giving up what you want the most. See, God set an example for us in sacrificing his son. He gave it to us for the betterment of us. And we need to understand that we need to give sometimes for the betterment of others. As leaders, that's what we are called to do. And that's what Nehemiah teaches us from this passage. So we also see something else at the end. We see that Nehemiah in 5:19, the last verse of this passage, he gives a prayer. He says, "Remember me with favor, oh my God, for all I have done for these people." And see, this is my third point. God desires to bless your sacrifice. And see, that's what Nehemiah says. Nehemiah doesn't pray this out of selfishness or hoping he'll get something back. But Nehemiah just prays this so that he asks that God see his sacrifice anyway and see where his heart comes from. Because God sees that his sacrifice comes from a loving heart and a broken spirit. And that's what we need to look at within ministry today. Within this passage of Nehemiah, Nehemiah does everything in the belief that God will bless him and be with him. And we need to do that as well. As leaders, we need to understand that sometimes you have to step out in faith and believe that God's going to be with you in that sacrifice, that God is going to provide for you. There are times where it will be difficult, times where it will be tight, and you have to give in faith. And that's what Nehemiah does. He does everything in this passage out of love and in faith. And his people see this. They see his sacrifice. They know what he's going through. And so we need to remember and look at Nehemiah's heart during this time. You see that it comes out of love and reverence for God. He has faith in God. And as leaders, we need to do this too. We need to remember that God is with us, that God desires good things for us, and he sees our sacrifice, and he wants to approve of us and give us blessing. And so sometimes I ask you guys to step out as faith and leaders. So, and in closure, within ministry, we see that God doesn't promise life will be easy. God doesn't say that it's going to be an easy road, that it's going to be all fun. But what he does promise is that it's going to be worth it. And Nehemiah had to sacrifice to take care of his people. But as a leader, we're called to do the same thing. We are called to love our people. And in that love, sometimes it does mean sacrificing what you want the most. Sometimes it means giving up what you desire. See, today I want to ask you guys to look into your heart and examine what you can do to be a better leader. Are you setting the example of love and sacrifice that Nehemiah did? Are you taking care of your people, which is what Nehemiah did? See, I want to ask you guys today to really give everything over to God and sacrifice for someone else this season. And actually think about your people and think about the example and the leadership that you're setting. So I'm going to pray and then we're going to close. Dear Jesus, I pray right now, Lord, as leaders that you are preparing us for the future, God, that you would just let us have a loving heart and a broken spirit for you. Lord, let us have a loving heart for our people, and let us understand that in that love, sometimes we have to sacrifice. Lord, give us your strength. Let us remember that you wish good and blessings for us, Lord, and just be with us this season. I thank you and I praise you in your name, God. Amen. Amen.